guys. This is the ASMR Nerd, and today we're going to be looking at the Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game. This is a pen and paper RPG by Fantasy Flight Games, who also makes the Star Wars Starfighters tabletop miniature game. I play a few pen and paper RPGs, mostly D&D, and have for a number of years. But I've always been a player. I've never been the game master, the GM. And I learned about the Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game online, just while browsing around. And I thought it might be a great place for me to, or a great way for me to try out GMing. The Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game is, as the name suggests, a simplified rule set that's designed to introduce players to the Edge of the Empire role-playing system, which will be getting a full, proper rule book at the beginning of July. I think the current schedule is. But this is a great all-in-one kit for getting a small group of players together and just diving right in. It says here on the back, gather your friends and get ready for adventure in the Star Wars galaxy. Whether you are brand new to role-playing or just new to Edge of the Empire, the beginner game is the perfect starting point for players of all skill levels. Open the box and begin playing immediately. The Star Wars Edge of the Empire beginner game features a complete learn-as-you-go adventure. Players can jump right in and play as they learn the rules. Pre-generated character folios keep rules right at their fingertips. Custom dice and an exciting narrative gameplay system make every role a story. Detailed rules provide for hours of entertainment as you create your own adventures and tell your own stories. This is a complete standalone game for 3 to 5 players. as I said, even though they look a little bit intimidating, it's actually pretty easy to figure out. We'll talk about them in a moment. Let's pull a couple of these out. So basically, the way these dice work is somewhat like D&D in that you're basically, you assemble a dice pool based on your character's skill and ability in whatever they're trying to overcome, and then they roll that against a dice pool based on the difficulty of the task they're attempting. But instead of comparing numbers, you're comparing these symbols. So a player would roll, for instance, a couple of these green dice, which have these success symbols on them. I can get the camera to focus. These success symbols, as well as these advantage symbols. And they would roll a few of those against a dice pool made up of these failure symbols and these disadvantage symbols. And basically, you compare the success symbols to failure symbols. And if you have more success than failure, then you succeed at whatever it is that you're attempting. Additionally, you count up the number of advantage versus disadvantage symbols. And if you have more advantage than disadvantage, then extra advantageous things can occur. On the other hand, if you have more disadvantage than advantage symbols, then disadvantageous things can occur. And what this allows for is kind of shades of gray in a way, because even though you succeed at a task, for instance, you might roll some disadvantage symbols, and so you might succeed, but something might go slightly awry. Or similarly, you might fail at your task, but you might generate some advantage while you're at it. And this allows both the GM and the players to have a bit of fun succeed at, which would be getting a lower price. The GM can decide maybe that means the shopkeep, likes the player's brazen nature. He appreciates their guts and trying to haggle him so low, and he says, you know what, okay, I can't give you a lower price, but I do have some other information that you might find useful. Something along those lines. And so it makes for a really interesting system. There's a lot of other dice here, as you can see. In general, they work in much the same way. I won't go into the details right now, but that's the basics of the system. Oh, that was probably really loud, sorry. I'll try and turn that down when I put the audio and the video together. Put those aside. So, the starter box also comes with a bunch of little cardboard tokens, which represent players and enemies. There's a couple here, for instance. This is the token for Pash, who is, it doesn't want to stay in focus, but Pash is one of the player characters, sort of a Han Solo type. He's a smuggler. Here's a token for Minoc, showing on the power cables. And a token for a TIE fighter. This system supports play on land and in space, so ship-to-ship combat is definitely a thing. I don't know why the camera isn't focusing, but anyway, you can make out the TIE fighter. There are lots of other tokens. Not all of them are actually used, in the back-end campaign. And there is a sort of an extended additional rule book that comes with the starter box that lets you create some of your own encounters using this simplified rule set. big Star Wars fan. I have been ever since I was a wee dyke. I grew up watching the movies, playing with action figures and toys. And, despite all the, prequel trilogy stuff and George Lucas's continual need to muck around with the original films, I still love Star Wars. It sparks my imagination in a way that few other fictional universes do. And I'll always love Star Wars. It's just it's something I grew up with. And so playing a Star Wars pen and paper RPG makes a lot of sense, and I've really been enjoying GMing this one. Anyway, the package comes with all kinds of great stuff. Here's an opening crawl to introduce the game to your players in proper fashion. And we pair our gameplay with music. I try and pick tracks that are appropriate to what's going on. And, Star Wars music is so iconic, so tied up in its identity that it just really helps bring it home. It's a lot of fun. Here are those pre-generated character folios. And of course, in the full game, you'll be able to create your own characters from scratch, but the beginner game has these pre-made characters which are easy to jump into. This is Bash, Han Solo type smuggler guy. Comes with all his stats, abilities and skills, talents, backstory. This is Lowrick. I guess you could say he's a Chewbacca type. He's technically considered a hired gun class, but he's a big, mean, well, not necessarily mean, but strong Wookiee. Vex is a droid colonist. He's sort of a support class. He's good at healing. And last but not least, Oscara, Twi'lek bounty hunter. We actually, our group only has 3 players, and plus me, the GM, and so we're not using Oscara right now. No one's playing her, but we could accommodate a 4th player. And lastly, here's the adventure book, which has all the elements of the story and the learn as you go rules in it. We diverged a little bit from the scripted adventure here and there, as any good GM should, I think, if the players want to. And we had a really great time. This lasted us a couple of hours, and we actually continued with a free expansion that Fantasy Flight has on their website as a PDF that lasted us for many more hours. It was actually longer than the back-end game, so very cool. I just